वाङ् मे मनसि प्रतिष्ठिता मनो मे वाचि प्रतिष्ठितम् आविराविर्म एधि वेदस्य मणिस्थ श्रुतं मे मा प्रहासीः अनेनाधीतेनाहोरात्रान् सन्दधामि ऋतं वदिष्यामि सत्यं वदिष्यामि तन्मामवतु तद्वक्तारमवतु अवतु माम् अवतु वक्तारमवतु वक्तारम् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. May my speech be firmly established in my mind. May the mind too be firmly established in my speech. May there be perfect correspondence between my thoughts, words, and actions. May the truths of the scriptures come to me. O self-effulgent Lord, be revealed in my consciousness. May what I learn from scriptures never forsake me. Let me live my life day and night according to their teachings. I shall speak what is appropriate. I shall speak the truth. May that protect me. May that protect the teacher. Om peace, peace, peace. Let us feel the all-comprehensive, all-pervading, all-controlling divine presence in and around us. Let us feel our apparent personalities, our worldly being is controlled by this divine in every single action, mental and physical. Let us feel we are all puppets controlled by the divine. Let us feel that connection with divine. My thoughts and actions, whether I know or not, are all internally governed by that one absolute, all-pervading divine. So also all others are also governed by the same one power. Let us feel the sense of deep surrender. Let us meditate on this idea. I am pervaded by God, governed by God. As I meditate in this way, my ego is dissolved, gone. The God alone is. Om. Peace, peace, peace. So, dear friends, let us begin with our usual prayers for this class on Sri Ramakrishna and his divine play. Tava kathamritam tapta jivanam kavibhiriditam kalmashapaham Shravanamangalam Shrimadattatam भुवि गृह्णन्ति ते भूरिदा जनाः. Let me extend a special welcome, congratulations and thanks to all of you who are present here for coming in harsh, difficult weather conditions. And let us begin the discussion where we left last time. This chapter is about the teachership of Sri Ramakrishna, and we see that he was not having any such ego that I am a teacher and I have to teach all these people. He could see himself as a willing instrument in the hands of Divine Mother. I have used the word willing very deliberately, because as we were meditating we could see, we could understand that, well, what is speciality of Sri Ramakrishna? We all are instruments in the hands of God. After all, God controls every single thing. So why just Sri Ramakrishna is an instrument? Why are not we? Very true, friends. We all are instruments. We are all controlled by the God. We are puppets, basically. The difference is here that Sri Ramakrishna is aware of being puppet, being free from ego. And then for us, well, there is this ego that I am doing it. That makes our actions, well, whatever God does, that will happen. But we are left with sense of bondage, misery and so forth. Because we want our will to prevail over God's will. In fact, we feel that it is through my will everything is happening. God doesn't really do anything. There is that story that in a small village there were various farms and all, and there was just one church. And a new minister came there. And he decided that, well, since this is the only church in the village, let me bring all the folks in the fold of this church. There are several who are not coming at all, are not members of the church. Let me see. And then he decided to visit a farmer there, because he was not coming to church. So the farmer was doing some work at the farm, and this minister said, "Hey, good morning." "Good morning." Well, you and God have done wonderful business here, It is what a great work you have put in. You have all this corn coming up beautifully. And you and God have also done such good thing here. Look at all the animals that you have and the construction that you have for your house. All you and God have done all this wonderful work. And I see this water sprinkling system, irrigation system that God and you have put together here going on so well. And the farmer heard this for a couple of minutes. The farmer had come there just About 3 years back he had purchased that farm. He said, God and me, eh? Had you come here 3 years ago, when God had all the freedom to do whatever He wanted, then you would have known what God does. All this was a waste thing. It is I who do it. So, we all have this, that God, what does He do? Maybe just sits in the heaven, nothing else. But we do. I am the doer. That is a very strong feeling in us. Only when something goes wrong, then God becomes the punch bag, hey, well, God did it. All the good things, I do it. All the wrong things, it is because of God. So, this is a common human notion, and therefore, Sri Ramakrishna and we, the difference is this, that Sri Ramakrishna identifies himself not with this egocentric personality, but as an instrument that is completely governed by God. We had discussed that nice incident in the life of those cowherd women, gopis, and then they were in love with Krishna, mad love, always wanted to be in company of Krishna, in close proximity with Krishna, the God. So they once started questioning the flute. Flute, you must have seen the picture of Krishna playing flute. And they questioned Krishna, they questioned the flute. Hey, tell us the secret. How did you manage to get such nice place on the on the lips of Krishna? What did you do? What trick did you employ so that Krishna keeps you on his lips? Tell us the secret. The flute replied that, well, I don't have any skills, I don't have any beauty, I am just an empty bamboo, nothing else, and an empty bamboo. Only thing that I do is I do not add anything of mine. Whatever Krishna does, that is all. That whatever notes he wants to play, I just let them play. I do not change it. I do not do anything to add to it or subtract from it. So, that is how empty bamboo, you see, that I am just an empty bamboo. When our personalities become devoid of this I, ego, then Lord fills in it. So this is how Sri Ramakrishna's even normal works were, instrument in the hands of the divine, and his teachership also was just that. That teachership was happening, not that he was deliberately deciding, okay, let me teach this fellow, let me teach that person. Nothing like that. It was by divine arrangements. The students would come to him with the desire to learn and get transformed. It is this power of transformation was there very powerfully present in him, and thus we see in this example of Mathur Babu, That is the topic of discussion in this chapter, because Mathur is an example. We discussed earlier also that why Mathur's example is taken, because he was most unlikely a disciple. He has some merits, but he was not religious, he was haughty, he was very rich, and did not have much expression of surrender in his life. He had some devotion, no doubt, but when he came to Sri Ramakrishna, the first thing was, well, he is just an employee here. I am the employer. That attitude was there. Like with everybody, there were probably dozens of employees working there, and Mathur had a lot of other estate and other things that he was administering. So he was just used to give orders and just expected strict compliance from others. So even with when he saw this priest who was worshipping or doing other works there at the temple garden, that was just the first idea. But things soon changed. Let us read. This is from page 485. Mathur was a worldly wise person. He was not a fool. We saw that. He was no less intelligent or critical than the rest of us. He also doubted the master's extraordinary character and activities and did not spare him from testing at every step in the beginning. So this was like him. He was skeptic. He was very bright and like we think we are, that okay, Sri Ramakrishna might have cast his spell over others, but they were not that intelligent and testing. I will test him. I am a brilliant person. I have read a lot. My knowledge is much more than these, and I have so many accomplishments in my life. So, after all, I can test Sri Ramakrishna and see his that cover of devotion and all, that will be soon torn away when I test this all that he does. And that is the attitude that most of us carry. Being brilliant, being intelligent, and all that. So, Mathur Babu approached Sri Ramakrishna with all this. The idea is to test. But as this saying goes, that when it is pure, true gold, then the more test you apply, the more it starts shining, the more the dirt gets cleaned, the shining becomes brighter and brighter. There is a saying in Sanskrit like that, that the goldsmith, they have that fire to purify the dust and they mold that gold into ornaments, that it is that you put me in fire again and again, O goldsmith. The gold is telling the goldsmith, hey, you are putting me in fire again and again, but it doesn't burn me. In fact, my luster starts shining more and more, but the ash of the fire is just making your face covered with it, making your face dirty. That's all. So, by testing Sri Ramakrishna, so many brilliants have tested in Sri Ramakrishna. And he used to encourage that. Come on, test. But with every test, Sri Ramakrishna would just pass that test without any effort, like win hands down every game, and just smile at them. And this would gradually, this is again a contact with Sri Ramakrishna, and that makes the transformation in the lives of these. So, we shall continue reading that Mathur was attracted to the master at first sight because of his childlike simplicity, sweet nature, and handsome appearance. Later, during the first stage of his sadhana, the master began to experience divine madness. Sometimes he lost control of himself while worshipping the Divine Mother, and sometimes he worshipped himself seeing her within. When out of exuberant devotion he transcended the boundary of Vaidhi Bhakti, preparatory devotion. Now, this is a term that needs to be understood, preparatory devotion. And Sri Ramakrishna would transcend that preparatory devotion. The idea in a preparatory devotion is that you want to feel devotion, but devotion is not actually there. You want to love God, but the love is actually to the objects of sense pleasure. This is the common people. Sri Ramakrishna would say that they are like the common flies. Common flies could sit on flower, could sit on all the dirt and filth. It is the common fly can sit here there on the nice fragrant flowers or the filth. But those who are like this bee, they will not go to the dirt or filth. They will sit always on the flowers. So, the mind of the saintly people is that it never gets attracted towards the worldly pleasure. But worldly people like us, what happens is, at times there is a decided attraction towards the divine. But at other times it gets all forgotten, and the other objects of the world attract us. So, therefore, one has to make special efforts to direct the attention to God. Several specific disciplines have to be followed so that the mind does not go to the objects of the sense attractions. And normally the mind would go there, but then we see then the devotion gets a hit. Our progress in spiritual life gets a big hit, and therefore we continue to live in this mire of bondage and various kinds of torture, suffering, restlessness. That becomes the life. And a spiritual aspirant knows that I really don't want that life. I had enough of it. A lot of this bondage I have seen. whatever I feel attracts me and feel that it is such a nice thing, what a sweet thing. But I soon discover that it is a trap, and then it becomes a habit. It is very strange, the bondage is. It reaches a level where even you know that you are not going to get any pleasure out of running after those sense pleasures. You know it, and yet someone forcibly is pulling you in that direction, because habits start controlling us, that you went to enjoy. Now you got in the clutches of that object. Now you don't want it. But now no escape. Hey, come on. That will keep on pulling you. That it is all right that you had desire to eat ice cream, and you knew that at that time you thought that it will be so nice, it will bring so much pleasure, and then you ate it, and then you got some pleasure. Okay, finished, done. But now it is not done. The ice cream will keep attracting you again and again and again. That is how we get caught in so many different ways. So this is the life of a non-devotee. It is a devotee, but not an established devotee. One who has fully established in the love of God. This is a devotee who is struggling to get rid of the attraction of the sense pleasure, and they seek the happiness of divine communion. So these two different things are there in a devotee. Most of us who are devotees are in this category, that there is the attraction of the sense pleasures and there is the attraction of God. So, to develop the attraction of God and reduce the attraction of the sense pleasures, we put ourselves in a methodical practice of devotion. A methodical discipline is put in. Okay, I will get up early in the morning. This is a tendency, struggle, because there is the tendency, okay, sleep, get up late. No, you have to meditate on God. Get up early and start doing that. You put yourself in that discipline. Make yourself do that. It requires that effort. It is if for those who like ice cream, it is not an effort, that to eat something nice. Therefore, they say that the questions asked in an exam, that the teacher tells, this is a very simple exam. This question paper is just a piece of cake. Means all simple questions. So, it is not, but it is meant, because just as you can finish the cake without any effort, so these questions will be. So, to run to sense objects doesn't involve an effort. But to make the mind turn towards God, we have to overcome that attraction, make a discipline. That, well, I will read the scriptures, I would attend Vedanta classes regularly, I will be in the holy company as much as possible, so that it is you will start feeling the attraction of God more and more, and then the habitual pulls of the sense objects will get diminished from life. This is the common spiritual aspirants put themselves in such a discipline, and as they advance, the discipline starts becoming stricter and stricter, because now they are ascending this path. And so they automatically, like when you go in the discipline of the school, first grade, very simple, not much, even if you do not go to school for a couple of days, it is not that much. But as you advance, the courses become more and more difficult. It becomes you require to put in more efforts, more study, and so forth. So similarly, this, as one advances in this, the efforts are more and more, although you don't feel it because your strength also grows with that. But when you do all that, a stage comes in life that now there isn't any force of the sense attractions. A very important point, that the sense that attraction for those objects is gone from life. And so you do not need a practice, a disciplined practice to have love for God. It becomes automatic. And then that discipline is not necessary then. Till then the discipline is necessary. That okay, you have to worship in that given that method. There is an order, there is a discipline, there are strict rituals, very strict protocol. In worship, it is a protocol that you have to follow. Very strict protocol. You have to do one thing after another, and all that is so sequentially connected that it is there is no choice or freedom or doing things haphazardly. It is a discipline that you have to follow to practice devotion. But when you have transcended that level, now the devotion is spontaneous. There is no attraction for the sense objects left. And thus the devotion for God is now real. The attraction for God is real. The love for God is so real that now you don't need any rules for that. That is why when there is the love is not really built between people, they come together, want to get introduced, and therefore there is effort, there is nervousness, there is how to approach and all that. All that is there. How shall I not hurt the other person? I should create a very good impression, and all that happens initially. But then when the love really develops and ripens, then who cares? Then it is all. Why? Not that there is no love now. The love is now natural, normal, so you do not need any pretenses there. You don't need a particular method to follow. It is now a natural flow of love going on. So Sri Ramakrishna therefore now had the actual love for God present there, and therefore his worship now was having many abnormalities from the point of view of those who had to do the methodical prescribed ritual worship. There is all that prescribed ritual that one has to follow. It is like you suppose there is a play. In the play, there is a child and a mother. Now the director tells that okay, you have to show love to the child, and so okay, kiss the child 3 times and feed him, say some such nice words to please the child, and so forth, and hold the child, caress that, smile, make the child smile, and so forth. The child and the mother in that play both are taught by the director in every way. But for that actor, if she has her own child, that is a different story. That love will not have to be taken by this procedure there. So, for us, since we do not have that true love for God, we follow a procedure so that gradually the love develops in us. So, therefore, we see Sri Ramakrishna doing something very different. It is not right. He needs to be corrected. He has to be told that the scripture says that this is to be done. This fellow is just offering worship to himself rather than offering to Kali. Sits in the Kali temple to worship Kali, and look at what he is doing. He just got up and tried to put food in that mouth of that image. It is just insanity. How can a stone image be actually eating? And then look at this sacrilege that he himself then puts it in his mouth. That is all unacceptable to common people, that this is not the right worship. But then Mathur Babu, therefore, decided, when he got these complaints, he decided to test. He was not going to just act on the take a decision, oh, he did like that, and kick him out. No, he wanted to just see himself, because he was attracted to Sri Ramakrishna because seeing his devotion, his straightforward nature. So, when this out of exuberant devotion, he transcended the boundary of preparatory devotion and began doing things in a way that was contrary to the scriptures. His actions became reprehensible to others, even though they were motivated by devotion. When Mathur thus became an object of when the master thus became an object of suspicion and public criticism, the worldly Mathur pondered with sharp intellect and sense of justice. From the very first, I saw the master as a wonderful, simple-natured person. I shall not believe any report against him without seeing what is happening with my own eyes. Mathur secretly began to visit Dakshineshwar Kali temple and to closely observe the master's activities. He came to this conclusion: young Gadadhar is a living embodiment of devotion and simplicity. He behaves in that unusual manner out of exuberant love and devotion. So the intelligent man of the world tried to convince the master. It is good to act according to one's means or capacity. It is a blessing to have a birth and devotion. But is it proper to be besides oneself? You will definitely become an object of public criticism. Moreover, if you continue to act as you please without listening to others, there is a chance that you will lose your discrimination and become mad. That is how Mathur's that intelligent person inside him started convincing Sri Ramakrishna like this, that it is all right to be devotional, but look at the public around, that you have to observe those norms, and otherwise they are going to think of you as insane, and that is not right. It is good to have devotion, but certainly not good to behave as you please. There are certain rules that you have to observe. So he tried to tell. Although Mathur attempted to persuade him in this way, sometimes the holy association with the Master would awaken Mathur's sleeping devotion. He would then wonder. It is known that Ram Prasad and other spiritual aspirants in the past appeared to be mad because of devotion. It may be that Gadadhar's conduct and condition are similar to that. He did not jump to a conclusion. Insane fellow. Maybe has some devotion, but it is. So he did not take that kind of decision, because he had read that people, because of their exuberance of devotion, their actions are seen as a matter of insanity by those who are not having that devotion. After all, it is insane means they does not behave like a normal ordinary person. An ordinary person behaves, there are certain ways that you can expect the ordinary person to behave. But such people do not behave like that. So they think that gone. There is some problem with the brain. But that is how we see in everything that that you do something, and then that everybody around you is doing, then that is fine. But if you do something unusual that others are not doing like that, then it becomes sign that why the fellow is insane. That is the difference. That person may be seeing the right thing. We are not seeing, but majority are not always that right. It is in democracy, okay, somebody who wins majority gets to rule. But the truth doesn't depend on whether majority sanctions it or doesn't sanction it. When Galileo showed that the earth moves, majority of that part of the world were believing, according to the church instructions, that earth does not move. Earth is fixed, steady, and is at the center of the universe. Everything else moves around earth. See, don't you see? This is a common thing. Galileo does not even have common sense and talk of being a scientist. See, the sun comes, goes round the earth, it moves. Earth is steady. Otherwise, how we would have fallen off the earth if earth is rotating? Try to stand on a rotating ball. You will fall down. So earth is not moving, earth is stationary. Because majority view is like that doesn't mean was it a true view? It wasn't true view. It is said that he was coerced to admit that finally you have to say to get released from this house arrest that earth is steady, it does not move. So in a court he had to announce it that yes, I agree that earth does not move. And then he says to the person by his side, but it moves, you see. Earth moves. It is because he is seeing the truth, you see. So whatever people around may say, those who do not see, they think that that fellow is insane. But no, it is not so. He is right. It is when Einstein expressed this view that mass and energy are same, two different names, that's all. And actually light that we see, light has weight. For many years, many decades after Einstein showed it, still people found it hard to believe. It is because that is not the common perception, common experience. It is, for example, if you say, why then this bulb when they are lighted and when they are switched off, the weight will be the same. How do you say that the light has weight? Well, it is Einstein was true, correct? He was not insane, but others thought that, something wrong. It is very common that the genius is always thought to be mistaken because it is far ahead of the times. So, and even now people struggle to accept that, light has weight. Even many scientists, they said, unless there is a proof, we will not accept. And a very famous experiment was done during an eclipse, that then light from a star, because of eclipse it could be seen near the sun. As the light passed, it was bent, the ray was bent while passing near the sun, showing that the light was affected by the gravitation, it had weight. So Einstein was vindicated. But it is very important that the genius always is subjected to public scorn, insane. And that is happens to Sri Ramakrishna also. Of course, that should not mean that just because the converse is not true here, that people call me insane, therefore I must be genius. That conclusion is not correct. A genius is subjected to public scorn, but everybody who is subjected to public scorn is not a genius. So therefore Mathur Babu decided that it is maybe that, but it is good if he tries to behave in a normal way. And what was happening in this process? Satsanga, interaction. Sri Ramakrishna and Mathur Babu were having interaction. So Mathur was getting the impact, irresistible impact of Sri Ramakrishna's presence, and that was causing a gradual transformation, making him more and more spiritual. Devotion is contagious. Every day we see that moods like physical states are transmitted from one person to another. The gross and subtle universes are composed entirely of modifications of the same substance and governed by the same natural law. It is a very important statement that both the gross matter and the subtle matter both have this, that just like a gross matter, the mental waves, the thought waves, the emotions, that also Vedanta and Sankhya consider as matter, only subtle matter. It is gross matter and subtle matter. But both are matter. Don't think emotions are not matter. Don't think that intellect is not matter. It is matter. It is not spirit or the consciousness. It is just matter. So it also, being matter, is subjected to the same laws of association. The law of association here is that in this particular vibration, the others also get influenced by that vibration. Like in the musical instruments, it is seen that if one instrument is tuned at one note and that is being played, you can hear that very note from the other instruments as well. This resonance forming is always seen, that yes, the frequency of one instrument gets transmitted to others depending on how much power is there. So, similarly, when the devotees congregate, because each is now open for the devotional interaction, everybody's devotion increases. That is why it is advised, and I try to persuade therefore people to come in a holy company. It is good to have a solitary meditative practice, but it is better to have a meditative practice, prayers and meditation done together, because we get helped by the others around us too. We become influenced by that. It happens in the bad things, like if somebody has flu, that it is, then everybody around gets flu. I was talking to one person in the afternoon that, well, how are you guys? He said, we all are sick, therefore we could not come for a long time. What happened? Well, first this person in our family, this child got flu. Then afterwards I got, then other person got, everybody, because those germs, they travel, it is infectious. And so also devotion too is infectious. If there is the devotional element in us wanting, in a way, it is matter of speech, that's all. It is not easy to put it in proper words, but each has a devotional being that wants to develop, wants to come up. And when the congenial circumstances get provided, then it gets a boost. So that is why it is so very important, the holy company, that when you are in holy company, exactly similar corresponding feelings get aroused. That is why it is so important that people come, such people come together. And coming together, they interact with each other in a devotional way. Each person's devotion gets a boost thereby. And this is what is happening here in the company of Sri Ramakrishna. We will stop here. The paragraph is not very small, and so we will leave it here today. And next Tuesday, what is next Tuesday? It is Christmas Eve. So next Tuesday, this discussion will not be there on this book, Sri Ramakrishna's biography, but we will have a very special Christmas Eve program. This yearly program is very important and very significant in the history of Ramakrishna mission. So I hope you all, not only those who are right now in the hall, but those who normally come but couldn't come today, and those who normally do not come, but they also, I request or suggest, come on that day to get soaked in the message of Jesus Christ, His advent, and likewise. So we will meditate on Sri Ramakrishna's personality and teachings for 30 seconds. And in case if you have questions, please ask. Yes, please. Okay, first Abhijit.
Would you say that Sri Ramakrishna's non-traditional way of spontaneous way of worshipping Mother Kali, that was a part of a script that he was laying out?
Okay. This has the reference what I said in the beginning, that Sri Ramakrishna's every action was guided by the divine. He was the machine in the hands of the Divine Mother. So how his these actions were also part of that being an instrument. Yes, being an instrument. This was also part of being an instrument, that Sri Ramakrishna could just do everything as being aware that it is Divine Mother who is guiding everything. And so his those actions, unconventional actions, also were guided by Divine Mother very directly. Very directly. That, oh, please feed me, hey, and you eat first, and like that. It was, don't do it now, it is, no, no, don't fan me, I am feeling cold. All those things were directly guided for Sri Ramakrishna by Divine Mother. So, that is how for common people who do not get that guidance, the instrument is not still perfect. So therefore, that part that, oh, you do it exactly like this, otherwise it will be sacrilegious, that is also guided by the divine will. And this also is guided by divine will differently, because they have different roles to play. Sri Ramakrishna's role is different, so he gets guided in this particular way, even though even in and through his unconventional ways of worshipping. And not that Sri Ramakrishna has his own will then, not that he decided, okay, today I will act in an unconventional way, so that people will think that I am insane, or I am a great devotee. That is not Sri Ramakrishna's way. Many started doing like that, to feign that they are Sri Ramakrishna. Many do it. In our mutt at Nagpur, one person used to come, and he would say, I am Sri Ramakrishna, and would try to imitate that samadhi, this, that, and all, deliberately, that it is. That is a deliberate imitation. Many of the devotees coming to Sri Ramakrishna, they also started imitating Sri Ramakrishna in this way, that they are walking like Sri Ramakrishna's feet were unsteady while walking due to exuberance of that feeling of God. They also started practicing walking unsteadily as if they are drunk and so forth, you say. So that is a deliberately done action. But with Sri Ramakrishna, it is complete surrender. It was real that that Divine Mother and he, that relation was so concrete for him. So therefore, that was guided by Divine Mother in that way, because the feeling of body and mind as the instrument of the mother was very, very palpable there. Oh, okay, I will do as you tell me. So that was happening there. The books, scriptures, and other things, they are only secondary when Divine Mother is telling to do in a particular way, that gets prominence. So that was how there also he was all controlled like a puppet by the divine will. He was an instrument willing. As I mentioned, other people are also, everybody is an instrument, but they are not willing instruments, they have their ego. So, yes, it is, everything is Leela, but his Leela means because he had no ego, this is the Leela happening. There is no separate I left there. He was aware that not every moment, but he was aware that this is a play, this is not real. God alone is real. Yeah. Yeah. It is when in samadhi nothing of it would remain. So that was the state that he was. He said many times, the natural tendency of this mind, and what a tremendous statement. Natural tendency of this is to go in samadhi. It is with great effort that it is kept on the plane here, so that you will learn. So that is how the effort is being done to maintain this show, a lila. Yeah. Yes, Charlie?
Well, now that he asked that question, I have two questions.
My goodness.
Um,
Holy company, you say?
yeah. It seems to me that it's natural that there are, of the things we think and do, there are some we choose to do and others happen against our will.
Yeah.
Isn't it natural to say that some of the things we do and some God does?
No. all things are done by God. In some cases, our will tallies with the God's will. In some cases, our will does not tally with God's will. That's all. But nothing is done cannot be done against the will of God. What happens is we don't want to do it, but willy nilly we have to do it. We don't. So we have the ego, and so we think that we did these things ourselves. Not God was not involved at all. Like that farmer said, it is all I did. Why you are bringing in God? So, and when we don't have our own will, still it is the God's will that prevails. So we feel the frustration that I wanted it this way, but it happened the other way. So this is the difference. And what's your other question?
If an incarnation of God cannot control his own actions, then who can?
Nobody will control one's actions. Incarnation of God has surrendered the whole ego to divine, and therefore there is no need for control. The control is so spontaneous there that there is not even the word control is also not cannot be applied there. It is not a willful attempted control. It is spontaneous. That it is so the whole personality was so streamlined, so well connected, that whatever comes in the mind we would get automatically done by the body. There is no need to restrain, because no bad thought, no thought that doesn't need to be expressed could ever come. And therefore this was the transition. For example, I get many thoughts, and immediately I did see that, that's not right. Hey, don't do like that. It is bad. Control it. So I have to control that. For Sri Ramakrishna, such thought never arises, and therefore what comes to mind gets worked on the body as well. Yeah. So, let us conclude with the closing prayers. Pardon? Oh, next Tuesday, no live streaming. Do we have normally? On Christmas Eve, do we do live streaming? No. May the Divine, who is Father in heaven of the Christians, Holy One of the Jewish faith, Allah of the Muslims, Buddha of the Buddhists, Tao of the Taoists, Great Spirit of the Native Americans, Ahura Mazda of the Zoroastrians, and Brahman of the Hindus, lead us from the unreal to the real, from darkness to light, from death to immortality. May the all-loving being manifest himself unto us and grant us abiding understanding and all-consuming divine love. Peace, peace, peace be unto all. Oh yes, there is rice pudding kept for everybody to take. And since very few came, each of you should take 3 cups.